Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Hard 100, a video series documenting the culling of my collection from what it is to what it's going to be. And that is a Hard 100 games. I played a game recently that I picked up recently because someone advised me that there's a loophole in my Hard 100. My rule 3 is that if I don't get this business down to a Hard 100, I can just buy whatever the fuck I want. And what are you, my wife? Come on. So the idea is that I'm going to get there as quickly as possible, and then the hard stuff is going to happen. After I get 100 games in, then it's really going to start getting nitty and gritty, and I'm going to start getting rid of some shitty. So what we're going to talk about today is a game that satisfies one of the things that I look for when I'm really determining if I want to keep it. Most of my games that I really play, I play solo or with one other person. And with the exception of that, when I do play it with 3 people, it's usually the family. It's not usually a group, despite me getting a game group started at work that's kind of on hiatus for a little bit. If a game is 2 players, it has more of a chance of staying in my collection than if a game starts at 3. It's just the way that it is. So I do have a certain number of games that I keep for just in case, which is like a party kind of thing or whatever. So today, we're going to talk about a game that's specifically 2 players, that has a theme that I enjoy. It has the best board game component of 2018. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going on a voyage. Kero. No. Kero? Kero. Kerosene. Kero. Kero by Prospero Hall and Kero is a post-apocalyptic journey into trying to score some points. The theme is here. This theme, like I said, there are games that are themed a certain way that are trying to tell a story. Then there are games that I feel are trying to provoke more of a vibe. The vibe of this one is that you are in the post-apocalyptic world. Gas is scarce. You're trying to, I guess, find some land or whatever, but it doesn't matter. So on your turn, what you're gonna do is use chunkin' dice. This game has a very intense way that you roll these dice. It's a real-time kind of thing, but we're not rolling them at the same time. What you're doing is you're taking that big-ass hand of dice and you're throwing them, and on them dice, there are different symbols that will give you resources for you to buy cards. These cards do everything from giving you victory points to extra resources to allow you to do all kinds of fun stuff. And also what you can do with your dice are try to occupy different spaces in the middle of the board where there's kind of a area control thing going on to give you more points, and then if you get certain sets, it's just a whole bunch of very simple game mechanic things done. But here they've taken all of that, stripped away some of the fat, and made it a really fun experience. So let's talk about the best board game component of 2018. Ladies and gentlemen, get into focus. Why aren't you focusing? Ladies and gentlemen, this right here is what you're looking at. This giant truck is a sand timer. This is the gas that you're going around and, I don't know, doing all these things. So whenever you roll your dice, you are laying it on its butt and you are rolling. And then whenever you're done, you boop, put it back down. Because if you ever roll and you run out of gas, that roll is busted. But what you can always do before your turn, and I'm glad it's before your turn and not for your turn, is that you will turn this way to try to refuel while the other player tries to roll some fire symbols. Because on the die, in typical dice rolling fashion, there are some symbols that you cannot re-roll. And then you roll them all fire and then they're down. A fantastic little thing. It's just a sand timer. That's all it is. But they went the extra mile to make it this little truck, and it goes a long way into kind of really helping you feel like you're filling up a tank. And it's really, really fun. The idea that this sand timer is my gas is a very thematic touch that really draws you into the world. Now, the art and everything in the game is very lovely. The board is very nicely laid out. Everything on the back of the box shows you exactly what the game looks like. You can upgrade permanent powers. You can get special little one-shot things. All the cards, the beautiful layout, the graphic design, everything in this game is pretty great. Let's do some housekeeping. 30 minutes. It's great and it's quick. 2 players, like I mentioned, it's an exclusively 2-player game because of the way the board's laid out. You're on one end, I'm on the other. And then ages 9 and up, don't know why, don't care why. So let's talk about some things that I love about the game. I love the real-time dice aspect. I love it whenever you are rolling dice as quickly as possible and then they get away from you and they're off the table. I'm like, hey, that's your gas. You're burning gas. Let's go. You're burning daylight. And then they're scrambling for it, and it's just a fun little thing. And then to see, do I want to use those gas cans to fill up my tank, or do I need them for something later? screw it, I'm gonna go for it. There's a lot more time in this timer than you think there is. It's a lot, but damn. And then, of course, all the powers do different things. Depending on how the deck is shuffled, you will need more gears or wheat or just whatever the random resources are. And the art's lovely. There's like a set collection element where if you get certain sets, you get things. The area control thing in the middle is not to be ignored because there's some juicy points there. It's just a good goddamn time. So it's just rolling dice to get resources, to get cards that give you powers, that give you more resources, that give you powers, and it's just this beautiful, beautiful circle, all while trying to do it in full time before you run out of gas. Ladies and gentlemen, Kero is in my hard 100. I loved this game. I loved the way that it played. I loved the simplicity of it. I loved the beautiful way it looked on the table. This is a board gamer's dream. This is just a fun little game that I can play for 30 minutes. It's not too thinky, but it provides me with some juicy decisions. And I don't know, it wasn't a hopeless, and what happens if you run out of gas and you don't have enough gas tanks to refuel it? That's okay, someone will come and give you a little bit of gas to get you to town, but you have to roll fewer dice. Oh, also, by the way, there are extra dice that you can roll and pay for that will give you extra gears and extra fun things. There's just so much fun to do in this little box. This little box was like 30 or 40 bucks, and it's a lot of game for 30 or 40 bucks. It packs a lot of game in here that most games can only hope to achieve. So if I ever do design a game, I hope it's as good a two-player game as this one. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me in the latest edition of the Hard 100. This game is right for my shelf. I believe it would be right for yours if you are really into a two-player experience. There's no way to expand it. It's very simple. If you like the idea of rolling dice in real time, I recommend you do not use a dice tower. Throw them down and then you're trying to scramble for them and you're freaking out because you don't know exactly how much time is in here. But the only time that is in here is a good time. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me on the Hard 100. I hope you and yours well. Peace out.